Bonjour, Brian, Bonilla, ça va?
Wow, you know more French than I do, and that's kind of that's it. But yeah, yeah, man.
What's up?
From
Well,
Cannes. How you doing?
back from Cannes. Feeling good, Brian? You got the glow to you.
I was gonna say, you noticed my tan and all that.
Yeah, you're glowing over there. Some
Uh,
croissants on the croissant.
I- yeah, I will say that croissants are like top notch. So obviously not a breaking news item, but very good croissants. You know,
Good, man. How about the rosé? How much rosé did you
I
drink?
didn't have as much rosé this year.
Okay.
In
Okay.
like different game plan this year. I was like, let me not get, you know, let
It's
me
your
not
turn.
drink at night. Let me not drink until 5 a.m. and go to bed and then have a meeting at 8 a.m. That's so stupid. It's funny, like I say that, but then I went to bed I would like get back to my apartment at like 2:30, so that's not that much of a difference, but it
And
makes,
wake up at what time?
it would vary like 8 or 9, depending on what
Yeah.
my schedule was. I mean, 7 actually would be the more
Mhm.
appropriate time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, if I could get 4 or 5 hours, that was an improvement for for what I did before.
This
Uh,
is your second year you've been?
this is my third. This was
Third
my
year.
Yeah. I definitely it's such a crazy experience. Like, if you ever get the chance to go, right? You haven't been. I think it's such a crazy experience to just see it, see everyone there, like everyone in the industry just in the same place. I know the festival's not it's different than what it used to be. So like
Mhm.
I know it's not the same as what it used to be, but from someone who's in the industry and you go there, it is amazing to see everyone, all these companies in one location, And for
Yeah, all
me,
these
like
people that you cover and write about and you hear
yeah,
about all the time, you see them all in one spot. It's like Disneyland for
it's a weird, like, it's like going to camp, and
yeah,
everybody's in the same situation. Like, even if you're in a nice hotel, everybody has the same, like, you either trying to network or meet new people, check in with clients, whatever, go to panels. So it's worth seeing. A branding issue, like the industry, I feel has an image issue, and also the like people just hate on their own industry so much in advertising that like it is one of the like more interesting events out there. Like, even we can get into the specifics of how
yeah,
much it costs and all that, but it is so much money. But it's still one of the few things that even people outside of the industry are aware of. So
right.
yeah,
First off, I love this industry and I think it's a lot of fun. Maybe it's because I'm in comms and new business. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure, but and
right.
I'm also like 2 years officially like in the agency world, so I'm brand new. But I love this stuff. And co-presidents at Havas Chicago came back and they were just amped up. And we had a couple people go from Chicago that did a presentation and talked about it. So I'm amped up and I'm still riding that wave of positivity. And I know you're probably still pretty tired. So we're going to keep this nice and easy for the listeners out there. I think high level, like we don't have an official template for this episode, but I will have some fundamental questions and kind of want to just go over some high level like flow for this. I guess like what is CAN? Why does it matter? What you saw this year? And then
Right.
any takeaways, learnings, that can apply to aspiring advertisers, that would be great for me.
Right. Yeah. This was the 71st year of the Cannes Lion Festival, which don't confuse it with the film festival, two different things.
Right.
But yeah, this festival, it is the marquee event every year that focuses on creativity and advertising and marketing. Obviously, the Cannes Awards are awarded during the week, but
The Lions.
yeah, exactly. But beyond the awards, every company or a lot of the marketers try to have a presence. Agencies go to meet potential new clients or
Right.
recruit people or catch up with people, learn how to run their business better, things like that.
It's the premier networking event, and every agency leadership that's there is networking and trying to develop new business for
Right.
sure.
Because that's not, from what I've spoken to executives before, like in the past, like that's not what the event was, right? Before it used to be like all agency folks, and
Right.
it was like it is a debate worth having because I've spoken to executives there. Like I I had multiple people tell me like this was the most like CMOs and marketers they've ever seen.
Yeah, they're taking it over, right?
Yeah, it's like that and like ad tech folks, like Meta obviously has their beach. Spotify has their event, every year now. They do concerts and
How
stuff.
about how about the Pinterest? I heard it was awesome.
Yeah, Pinterest is always a fan favorite, because I think they just like know how to like be a little different, right? They do like tattoos and
I saw somebody got a tattoo from the Pinterest
yeah,
pop up. Their spot. How
yeah,
cool is that?
it's cool, it's different because at the end of the day, I think of the festival as like Panel Palooza because it's just like
Right.
if there's the main stage and all these panels happening, and then every company that's there has their own panels, and then outside of the main area, there's people doing panels in different villas and things like that. So I think it's smart to do something a little different like that for Pinterest. Just drives engagement and it's on brand with Pinterest. And this year, like creators were big, like a lot of TikTokers were there. It was the biggest presence of creators I've ever seen. And, it just shows like where the industry's kind of headed. A lot more Gen Z folks from what I've heard. And I interviewed some Gen Z folks and did a story about that.
I don't care. What is it,
Yeah.
like 10 to 15 grand, would you say?
Yeah, yeah.
How
Uh,
much do you spend when you're there? Like, do you have to spend a lot once you're there, or is everything free? How does it work?
Well, it depends, right? Like, it depends on what spectrum of the business meeting you're on. If
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
if someone's paying for the dinner, then you're good, right? If you're buying all your meals and stuff, it is kind of expensive in that area, but there are some cheap spots, and I almost don't want to mention it, but I'll mention it. I just don't want like a whole bunch of people to show up to it. But it's called Marley's. So if you ever go to Canada, it's called Marley's. It's a hot dog. It's like literally a corner on the street, and it's a hot dog place. And one of the best hot dogs I've had.
What do you put on the hot dog?
Well, this place they crisp up the buns, and then they put fried onions on it, and then they put like cheese, and then they put like ketchup or mustard if you want. I'm a
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not Chicago style.
Well, how do you do it? How do you do it? Like, what do you?
I mean, Chicago style, what is it? It's a sesame seed bun, a Vienna beef hot dog with celery salt, mustard, onion, wedge tomato. That's
Oh,
a Chicago style hot dog, and the neon green relish.
what?
That's hot. Maybe I think
I'm,
maybe onions.
for me, I like to say I'm just basic. I like onions, sauerkraut, ketchup, and I'm good. Like it's all
You put
good.
sauerkraut on that bad boy?
I like sauerkraut. You don't like sauerkraut?
I like sauerkraut.
Yeah.
It's good
I
for
mean,
your gut health. It's like a
yeah.
probiotic, I think. Is it true that a hot dog takes like 15 minutes off your life? I think I read that once. My dad sent me that.
Yeah, I heard something like that, but then
Mm.
I was too busy.
Everything does. Everything takes.
But
Podcasting takes off a day.
yeah, and then McDonald's is, if you ever go, just go to a McDonald's. Obviously, they have a different menu, so it's cool. But also, what I go there for is they have snack wraps, so
Hey, they
which
gotta bring those back
so
in the US.
but costs like Ubers are. I wouldn't even Uber if you don't have to, like unless you're going somewhere far. I would walk everywhere. They track their stuff, and I know someone that lost their whole wardrobe, and they had to like buy everything for the week there. So it's hard.
Well, hopefully you didn't lose your luggage.
No, no, I'm good.
But Marley's is the spot to go to. And
Yeah.
did you check out the Palais? Did you get in there?
Yeah, like, so for, students maybe listening, the play is like the main area with the main stage. It has like it's a big building that you go to where Can puts up their panels, right? So every business that has a space there has their own panels, but this is like the official, like these are the official panels being put on by the festival, right?
Mhm.
And, but within the Palais, there's different areas where you can see the work. Sometimes you can see live judging of some awards. I went to a panel for Solo Stove, and they announced that they're bringing back Snoop Dogg for a new campaign.
Nice.
And Liquid Death was there, and there was a huge line to get into the room. And they're
Who
passing.
was speaking there? Was it Mike or Andy?
I think it was Andy. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Andy. He's been on the pod.
So you get to see different people, right? And so the Palais is a great place to start. Outside the Palais, there's like activations. So like Reddit for the third year in a row has their like cabana style, like 2-floor activation
Mhm.
where you go and hang out, get some refreshments and see some cool Reddit stuff. And McDonald's is there in front of the Palais now all the time. They have a McFlurry bus, so you can get a McFlurry. Instacart had their activation there where they were showing the future of shopping carts. They have a shopping cart where you put the items in and it tracks it. It tracks,
Mhm.
there's like a screen with it where it tracks the items and everything. And I think the idea is like eventually, you won't need cashiers or things like that. So
Cool.
that was there. And then Turkish Airlines had their own experience where they like tracked your brain waves while you were sitting and like eating treats, like desserts and treats, and like it made art out of it or something.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a cool. So that's a good place to start.
Some innovation there. I love it. So, and then what's the croissant? Croissant? How do you say it?
I think it's
Croissant? Is it like a walkway? I saw people talking about that.
the croissant. Well, all right. Well, first, I think we should look up the literal definition because I don't even know it. So
Mhm.
let me see. Croissant. And
Yeah, let's look it up.
it's like the road leading, like everything is right. So like the beaches and everything.
Mhm.
Well,
And I want to get to agencies. Is that okay, Brian?
yeah, let's do it. Look, I know
What'd
I
you
want to.
see? Like, we
Yeah,
talk about agencies. You're an agency reporter, and I work at one, but I also like to talk with agency folks. So we're kind of similar. That's why we're friends. I mean, and we have mutual interests here. So, which ones popped out to you?
yeah. I mean, it's so weird, right? Because it is a global scale, right? It's a global.
Yeah,
You
it's a
get
lot of
to meet
holding
with.
companies showing up.
Yeah. I would say like we were talking earlier, Marcel from Publicis, the
Yeah,
agents. I don't know. Yeah, we're
yeah.
talking about that. Tim did a nice profile piece on one of their campaigns. And so you get to meet global agencies that I think if you're in the US, you don't get to really talk to.
We've
See,
had Gaetan Dupelot on the show. Marcel Paris, they won the Grand Prix for, I believe was it film? Don't quote me on that, for their work with Orange Communications.
hmm,
So you got to, I think, let's like learn about them, see them. If that's cool.
what I will say too, I think agencies had a I think, for years, the concern is like, do agencies have less of a presence in Cannes as like more marketers show up? But the thing is, like, if marketers are showing up, agencies are going to be there, right?
Keep showing up. Yeah.
So it was all in different ways, right? Like WPP, they had like VML, for example, speaking with, Brandon Marshall, former NFL player, right? And sports was a big thing. And Sport Beach was such a big activation, like where if people don't know, second year of it, Stagwell basically turned their beach space into like an area to play sports, but also like every panel every day was sports focused. And the way,
Why are they doing that?
well, yeah, so
72 and sunny, is like that the reason? Like, because they have the NFL, is that correct? Like, they're
well,
tapping into like some of their clients. Like, what's the brand alignment with sports?
the inspiration from what I was told was, a few 72 execs were just had this idea one year and they pitched it and because they felt like like it is about a lot of the same, right? A lot of people are trying to do like kind of
Sure.
similar style panels. So they were like, why isn't there a space to be more active or whatever, right? So like that was kind of the genesis. And
Are people getting active though? Like, if
look,
it's
I
super
mean,
hot out there and you're like in your nice, you've been thinking about your wardrobe for the past month, perhaps, like
right.
before leading up to it. Are you getting out there playing pickleball?
In
Are
my
you getting out there? Or
nah,
you, Brian?
I did it if I had time to, I would. For example, they had morning runs sponsored by Saucony shoes. They had a North Face sponsored climbing wall where one of the world's best rock climbers was there.
Alex Honnold,
Maybe. I think you're right.
a free solo guy?
It might be.
Okay.
Uh, but he was teaching people how to, climb and imagine that experience, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
It
and
ties into the brand.
they had free played hours where like all the sports, like there was a basketball court there. So like you get to play different sports. And Carmelo Anthony's there and all these different basketball players are there. In terms of the why, right? Like I think from a Stagwell perspective, they are the 13th or 14th largest holding company, right? They're not really competing in terms of scale with WPP or Publicis right now.
Yeah.
So what do you do to stand out, right? And I think it's a great way for their brand as a challenger brand to stand out.
It's
And
working.
but they also do have a lot of sport clients, but it's also a new business tool, right? Like if like you're a marketer, you leave Cannes, one of your few takeaways is who are those people doing Sport Beach, right? You might give them a call for something for a campaign or something, right? Because you were impressed by what they did there, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and it is like all their agencies are on there, like that work on it. So, and you know, I spoke to Mark Penn about it, the CEO of Stagwell, and he says 75% of the costs were covered by sponsorships. I don't know if you know, personally, I don't think it's probably driving revenue, but I don't think that's the point. You know, like I don't think they're looking at Sport Beach as a revenue driver, but maybe it leads to revenue down. Yeah, because you know, they had like meeting spaces where like hundreds of people basically they booked hundreds of meetings for the whole week where athletes are meeting with brands, agencies are meeting with brands as well, and things like that, you know. So I think it's smart. I think, you know, it makes sense for what they need, you know, in terms of awareness. I mean, it's different. I think walking around Cannes, everyone I asked them, like, what were they excited to do and stuff? And Sport Beach was always one of them. And, you know, like, you got to wear badges the whole week. And so you have your regular badge. And I think the only other badge that I saw the whole week people wear was Sport Beach badges. It's definitely growing for sure. And what's cool about it is I think indirectly, it's making the festival a little cooler, right? Because I went to a party and Kevin Durant's there, and then another party and Joe Burrow's there. You just see all these different athletes hanging out. I got to meet Joe Burrow and talk to him for a bit. It just elevates, I think, the festival, right? In terms of the image.
What other celebs did you meet?
Let's see, Shaun White. I got to meet Shaun White. Diana Flores, the flag football player who went
Yep.
viral. Carmelo Anthony. Trying to think of non-athletes. Keenan, I got to say hi to.
Yeah.
He was in a rush, but I got to say hi.
My boss said she met Andre 3000.
Yeah, he just showed up, and I was so like, it was a surprise thing, little get together, and I was like annoyed I didn't go there. Apparently, he played his flute. Yep.
Hey, nice.
No, there was so many celebrities just showed up. Jared Leto was just walking around. Apparently,
They're cool.
Sport
Beach. Sports Beach. Sport Beach.
yeah. Well, I think you know, the AI conversation I thought was interesting this year. It didn't feel as much of a conversation as last year, but I got more from the side panels than the main panels on AI. Like Droga 5, David Droga had a panel where he was speaking with one of the executives at OpenAI. And I thought it was a good panel because they were talking about how this is going to eliminate some jobs, right? But it's the jobs that a lot of people don't really want to do. And I think I'm hearing more conversations around like, you shouldn't be scared of AI. And I got to see some demos behind the scene of what people are building in terms of AI. I can't tell you specifics, but I will say there are companies really building their AI tools or brainstorm with other AI tools. So I was impressed by more the behind the scenes AI conversations that were being had than like what was up front, you know?
Got it. So I'm assuming last year AI was newer AI to the industry. I'm sure it was a lot more fear last year. So compared to last year and this year, how do you think that shift has changed? Has the tone changed?
The tone last year was very much like, what are the possibilities with AI? And I think this year was more like, here's some examples of like where AI is going.
Showcasing.
Media Monks, they had like a robot because you know it was an alien robot, and they named it Sir Martian Sorrel because Sir Martin
Of
Sorrel
course.
owns the company.
Yep.
And but the robot, like, it draws a caricature of yourself while talking to you. So it like it's recording you and talking to you and responding to you at the same time. And it's drawing based on the conversation. I talked about being a journalist and it drew like a pen and a paper and whatever. It wasn't the best drawing, but it
Okay.
was like a CES type activation, like,
Right.
so I thought that was cool. There were some fun parts of the AI. Like Gatorade had like they're building like uh an AI assistant to help you like coach you like on health and like hydration and all this stuff. And they had something like that on there. So I thought there were more like activations and like more use cases of AI this year.
Okay. What were some other big like learnings, takeaways that we should know about?
I think, I did a story, like I said, like Gen Z, I thought had a more interesting presence. I think they had a Gen Z creator at the like on the palais during the week, which I think was the first time I've ever seen that, and I think they're having more of a presence. I spoke to some Gen Z folks trying to gauge how they navigate the conference, and a lot of them were focused on more niche panels rather than the large topics. I think historically back in the day, you would rush to see David Droga, right? Talk. But I think Gen Z nowadays, they're not as interested in the names and more interested in getting like, is this panel or is this information going to give me some tangible information that I can use in my job? You know?
Right.
And I think that's what I find interesting about the different generations. It's like Gen Z, they're trying to like get a physical takeaway from Can. And I think like as a millennial, like I probably would have been wanting to get inspired, and I'm sure there's an overlap, but I think
Yeah.
it's just a difference. There were a lot more creators. I don't know all the creators. So like I probably walked by like a TikTok person who had like 2 million followers and
Of
didn't really
course.
realize it. But I thought they brought more like energy to this thing. I saw a few panels with creators and like it just felt like they were more unfiltered and just like honest sometimes because there's such a like pressure to just look good, right, when you're talking. So I think it was a good infusion of youth this year. I just think overall there is a concern from some executives that I've spoken to that they feel like this is just becoming a new business festival, right?
That's
And
my perception of it.
look
I've
at
never been.
it feels that way from outside looking in.
If you're an agency professional, how do you justify the costs of 15 grand? Well, maybe you'll go and make some connections and win some new business that will recover that cost. It makes sense to me. Like I'm always thinking about networking and like maybe that's my job, but I don't know. That's how I would imagine people are going for.
Right, but it's like I guess it's hard for and this isn't just creatives telling me this, it's like CEOs when they go to Cannes and the whole week they're spending in like meetings and boardrooms and stuff, and they don't get a chance to even see any of the activations or like whatever. It's like kind of what's the point for them, like in their minds. And I don't know, like how do you change that? Cause you're right. Like, how do you justify the costs? How do everyone's here anyway, especially in like a world, like the past few years have been so remote. Like you almost feel like you have to take advantage even more.
Yeah.
You know,
But
it's
there are, I guess like the learn, like, right. Like an agency would send people to learn and get inspired for the younger folks and to connect and to network, get inspired, especially if your agency is winning a lion or you're shortlisted, you're
right,
going to want to go send the people, get them excited about it and celebrate them.
right. They spoke to multiple people and they didn't even realize there was an award show. And it's like, I think that's the concern, right? That people are gonna forget. Maybe it's just for the winners. Maybe that's what it is.
You have
And
to remember that is every creative's dream is to win a lion at some point in their career. Maybe they might not admit it, but it's a goal of a lot of people out there. And to win a lion is a big deal in this industry. And it's actually a benchmark of how we get people on this show. It's like if a creative has 100 lions, I'm going to want to talk to them because
mm,
it's a good barometer. And most likely they're going to get promotions and they're going to get raises. So it's something like this award show is important for like the careers of the individuals on the agency side.
right. Yeah, no, it is. And this year I was another takeaway, just DoorDash winning the big Grand Prix award. the Super Bowl spot. I don't know if you remember the promo code.
Of course, that was squiggling across.
And like I thought that was also a sign of like maybe a change to come in the industry in terms of what do we view as like the best work, right? Because on its head, I think Cannes has been known to award like just some of these like super creative like films and things like that. And like sometimes, but this one, I felt like there was a bigger focus on effectiveness as much as like creativity, or even maybe more so. And I thought that was an interesting pick, especially, Super Bowl spots don't usually do that well sometimes because it is an American thing, right? It's such an American thing, but the people judging aren't all from the US, right? They're judging, they have different perspectives and things like that. So I think the fact that this spot won was really an interesting sign of where the industry's going.
Yeah,
Um,
and to remind people, they were giving DoorDash collaborated with all the brands that were giving. They collaborated with every advertiser that had a Super Bowl slot,
yeah,
correct? And they were giving away whatever the other ads were in the Super Bowl.
they got items from different brands like house, cars, 100, like food items, like
Yep.
whatever. And then they basically package all this up. And for whoever, like they gave it to one winner who was able to get the entire promo code right. And it was like a random selection thing.
Nice.
And it's smart. It was a good awareness stuff. And, I hope we get to have Kofi here, the CMO of DoorDash at some point. But like,
This is your official invite, Kofi.
he has a lot of interesting things to say. When I spoke to him, behind the scenes on it, in their mind, it drove the awareness that they needed, right? In a very competitive category where there's not as much loyalty with food apps or delivery apps, so how do you drive awareness, right? So, well, I think that really was like, I'm curious to see if this continues next year, this focus on how well did the campaign do,
I'm going to be with you next year, Brian. I'm going to get there.
We got to get a booth or something,
Yeah. Especially now that they're hopefully the Gen Z like content creators doesn't go out of style next year. Hopefully they go all in on that.
I don't think it can. I think, executives need to know what's happening,
If there's like the education stuff that they do, like the Young Lion stuff, I want to definitely speak, moderate, whatever. I want to be a part of it with the breaking and entering. So I'm manifesting officially.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll get there. I'll get there.
For sure, man. For sure.
I'll start walking now.
But yeah, there was other stuff going on, but I think those are kind of like my main
Yeah.
takeaways.
I'm just glad that you're back and we can keep on posting every other week. I think we got some good people lined up. We got some dream guests here. We want to start getting some titans of the industry on.
Yeah.
So it's not just us two, even though we do have a good time and we hope you enjoy listening, but we'll have some good people on. You're up. I'm calling you out.
There was a lot of news happening that week. Elon Musk as well. I didn't even talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
It's so hard to just manage all that stuff. But yeah, like Elon Musk was a big president, and
His apology tour, is that what they call it?
he's trying to get advertisers back
Yeah.
into X after basically telling all advertisers to fuck off. And this was basically him.
His apology tour.
And we'll see if it worked.
And how did he approach this? Did WPP bring him? Am I mistaken there?
Well, he had a panel with Mark Reed, the head of WPP, and this was on the main stage, and it was just flooded with a whole bunch of people because he has fans, right? So it's
Right. I mean, he's the richest man in the world, I believe.
yeah, he's up there.
Him or Jeff?
And he had a panel, and the time of that panel kept getting moved.
Yeah.
And so no, and his approach was essentially saying like he wasn't saying fuck all advertisers. He just meant the people that were trying to tell him what to do or something like that. And there was controversy, right? Because I've spoke to a lot of people at WPP agencies that maybe felt some type of way about Mark, speaking with Elon, given that Elon is very controversial. He speaks a lot on LGBTQ plus politics and other issues. And he is polarizing. So there was that internal conflict. There's a lot of people I spoke to who were like, I don't want to go see him. Then afterwards, he went to Sport Beach and did a secret meeting with like 20 CMOs. And I had to write that story and break that news, which was cool. And like to see that, and he had like a 1.5 hour conversation with CMOs on that. And then he showed up at the club, I heard later, with Swiss Beats because he signed like that exclusive deal with Versus to have like Versus stream on X exclusively. And I'm just like, this guy, I thought he was just gonna like go there to the panel and leave, but he really like, he had a lot of meetings I heard besides the Sport Beach one. So like, he was definitely out here. He was out here for sure.
Got it. Do you think it's going to be effective?
I think, one person told me, one executive was like, there was a meeting that was had and the client had just one question. The brand that he was meeting with had one question to Linda Yaccarino, who is, running X as well under Elon. And the question was, what do I do as a brand when Elon says something like crazy or just off the wall? What do you do? Like, what's your plan when he says something? And there was basically what I heard, no answer. And that meeting ended. So I think that's where people are, right? What do I do when the head of X is like, he's the head of X. So like, what do I do when he says something, right? To protect my brand, is that
Right.
affiliated here? So I don't know. I know some people felt positively after their meetings with him. I think they're trying to lean into the streaming like exclusive deals now. The Kardashians also have a deal with X. So I think that's the route they're going as well. I spoke to a lot of advertisers. They just left unsure. I don't know if he the needle that much.
We will find out.
Yeah, overall, Cannes is an interesting place, I think. I wish it was more accessible from a financial perspective. There are a lot of programs like internships, young line programs, things like that. A lot of other companies that fly people out for free. And so I think look into that, all these programs that exist, because that's a way to get in for sure.
Well, Brian, I'm glad you're back. Thank you for sharing your insights. We will talk again in the next couple of weeks. Every other week, we're going to post these bad boys.
For sure. Take care.
Nice work, Brian.